the minutes?
Yes. Well, actually, from what you sent me, hang on. I got 3 items from you, Paige. Am I missing something? I got the agenda for today.
Yeah, there should have been 4
Studio
documents
City
attached
Services
to that.
Guide.
Oh, yes.
And okay,
There was a first email. There was one email, and then I think there was a follow-up email.
I see. Okay, let me check the first email because I only had 3 documents.
Yeah, sorry about that. I think the first one had the minutes and the agenda, and then the second one had an updated agenda and that other document, the Studio City document.
Okay, committee. Do you know when the first email was, Paige? I'm only seeing 3 attachments.
The first one I sent was on Thursday. I could just re-forward it to you.
You know what? No, I see it. Minutes. Sorry. Okay.
No, you're okay. No problem.
Okay.
We're all getting lots of emails.
Elections and outreach. Okay.
So we only have the 3 of us on the committee. So since it seems like we're all here, should we start officially?
Why not?
All right. Okay, so the meeting's called to order at 6:33. And then attendance is myself here, Catherine
here,
and Tess
here.
Great. And then it looks like we have a couple of additional people. Welcome to those of you who are joining. I see Robin, Lisa, thanks for being here, and Jonathan. Great.
Oh, good. Lisa is here. Excellent.
Yes. Great. All right. So the first order of business was to review and approve the committee minutes, which were circulated. It's one motion, but 3 sets of minutes from the August, September, and October meetings. I'm not sure if that's technically the proper way to do that, but since we were a little behind, I wanted to get us caught up.
I'm not sure if I was not at the October meeting, so I wouldn't be able to approve that.
That makes sense.
So therefore, I think we might have to do them separately.
Right. Which I think that's okay, right, Catherine?
Yeah.
Just do
separate. Why not?
Okay.
Yeah, we can split it into multiple motions. So in that case, why don't you read the first motion to approve the August minutes?
Okay. All right, I can do that. So the first motion is to approve the GTLNC August minutes for the Outreach and Elections Committee.
First.
Thank you, Catherine.
Second. There's no alternative, is there?
I know, it's a little tricky.
Yeah.
Okay.
So my comments on it are a couple things. First is for the minutes, make sure that you change the
wording. Yes.
Top to say minutes as opposed to agenda. It looks like there's a spelling error in elections.
Yeah, I think that's just because the image is blocking it, but I've found that and I can fix it.
That makes sense. Yeah. And then my main comment on the August minutes is the X's for being present should be to the left of each name, not to the right.
Okay, good to know.
Just so that they're more close to each person's name.
That makes sense.
And same with the vote totals.
Okay. All right.
Not a huge deal, just formatting.
Yeah.
I will comment that Sean Besharati is missing an A in his last name on both of your agendas on August 4th, or, I mean, I guess they're minutes, but they're called agendas.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
That's all right. So it's Besharty.
Okay. Let me find him.
Is
Oh, I see it.
Sean-
Besharty is what you said.
Mhm.
Okay, got it. Well, sorry, Catherine, what was your question?
I'm sorry, I don't see Sean's name.
He's
I
in the
listed him in the
attendance.
attendance.
Attendees.
I wasn't sure if we're supposed to
Oh,
list like
Yeah,
additional
we don't need
people
to.
who-
We don't need to list out the attendees, just the number
Oh,
over
okay.
on the right hand side. So yeah,
Oh,
you just
okay.
say 2.
And then
Um,
even if they're board members, like in that case, it was Sean and Colby.
Yeah, it
they
doesn't
still-
matter.
Okay.
Um,
Okay, got it. All right.
So are we still on August?
yes.
Okay. It's pretty comprehensive. I like that.
Thank you.
And yeah, I think this is good. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, so with those comments, then we go ahead and vote. Is that
Yeah.
correct? Okay. Catherine?
Yes.
Okay. And then I record each of those individually, right? As
Yeah.
well? Okay. Wait 1 second. Let me get there we go. Okay. Tess?
Oh my goodness, the weight of this decision. Yes.
And then I'm allowed to vote as well, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Great.
Are you gonna
So
vote yes?
yes, I also vote yes. Sorry.
Excellent.
So with
All
that,
right.
motion A is approved. The October minutes or the August minutes, excuse me, are now finalized, right?
Yes. And
So then I can
you'll
save
say
those
the
as a
vote
PDF.
total. Yeah,
Oh,
you'll
the
say the
vote
vote total.
is
as-
3-0.
Yeah.
3 yeses and no objections. Okay. And on the vote slot on that sheet, it's yes, no, and then abstention, right? That's the order.
Correct.
Okay. Great. Sorry if this is a little clunky this time, guys. Okay, so then motion B would be to approve the GTLNC September Outreach and Elections Committee meeting minutes.
First.
And I can't second or vote or first because I wasn't there.
I think for
At
the
September?
September you were there, right? It was the
It says I was absent. I know that I was at
Are you looking at
one.
the
I
September?
think it's October was the one that you missed.
Oh, sorry. Okay, yeah, September. I apologize.
No
Okay,
problem.
so I'm looking at them out of order. Again, I think, well, you're not going to put the attendees in, but
Yeah, I'm
just
gonna
for the
take them
record,
out.
Sean, the spelling of his name has the extra A in it.
Got it.
And his first name is spelled differently.
Right.
Just an
Yeah.
FYI for
In this
everyone.
case, I'm gonna take that out,
Okay.
but that is good to know for future reference.
And I don't recall exactly, but I think when we discussed that survey that was conducted in May 2021, I think I asked Lisa for the responses, and
Yes, and she did send them.
did she? Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
I can resend that to you. She sent it to all of us
Okay,
shortly after that meeting.
okay, all right. Just been so long. Okay, very good. It looks good to me.
Okay. Catherine, any
Yeah, I mean,
comments?
same changes of just the formatting.
Right.
But
Yeah, I'll make sure I go through and do that on all of them.
thank you.
Great. Okay, so then we can go ahead and vote to approve them. Tess?
Yes.
Great. Catherine?
Yes.
I vote yes as well. So the vote total will be 3-0 and the minutes are approved.
Wonderful.
Okay, and then the final motion would be to approve the GTLNC October Outreach and Elections Committee minutes. Given that there's only 2 of us who can vote on that, but there's only 3 people on the committee now, do we still have the
Yeah,
ability to do that?
So you really only need a majority of those voting. So
Okay.
even if only one person could vote. So
Okay.
yeah, I'll first the motion.
Great.
on
I
the
will
October
second
minutes.
that. And then any comments other than the formatting comments that are consistent?
I don't believe I have any other comments.
Okay, great. In that case, we will move to a vote. Catherine, how do you vote?
Yes.
Great. I vote yes as well. So
And would I be
those-
technically an abstain?
If you would like to abstain, yes.
Okay, then I will abstain.
Okay, great. So that one is great. So then that passes. The vote is 2-0-1 for that. And those minutes are also approved.
Congratulations, Paige.
Thank you.
Well
That
done.
is a big step forward. Okay. So we'll move on to public comment. We have a couple people. I don't know if anyone is interested in speaking up. I think you can raise your hand and then we can allow you to speak. Looks like Jonathan's hand is up.
All right, Jonathan, go ahead. You have 2 minutes.
Thank you. I'll be real quick. I won't need the 2 minutes. First of all, thank you for having the meeting. Before I forget, I just wanted to remind you that I had told Tess this, there's a night when 2 meetings overlap during this month, and I'm just wondering if that's normal. I'll double check on my phone what day it is. It's on the 8th. Okay, so there's 2 meetings of the board, and I don't know if you intended that or if it's a mistake. Okay, the other thing I would say is I think that this is the most important committee besides public safety. Just because the rest of Los Angeles isn't doing so well with their neighborhood council outreach, and we see it in the elections, there's a tremendous amount of money being spent in neighborhood councils. And I think that Toluca Lake is really lucky for 2 reasons. It's small, has boundaries that are really understood by its citizens, and it's really rich. Demographically, it's a really rich, extraordinary area. So I think the potential for Toluca Lake to take care of itself is high if we do it correctly. Thank you.
Great. Thank you.
All right.
Okay. Seeing no other hands raised, I guess we move on to the ongoing committee member news and announcements. Oh, we do have a hand. Lisa would like to speak.
Lisa, go ahead. You have 2 minutes.
Hi, I just wanted to alert all of our attendees that for the website for Environmental Affairs and Executive Committee, they do sit on the same day on that February 8th, but you'll notice that the time starts at 6 for environmental and executive starts at 6:30. So if that helps.
Yes, thank you, Lisa. As the chair of environmental, I can confirm we have a short half-hour meeting every other month prior to exec.
Okay, so that time is, okay, deliberate.
So
All
they
right.
won't actually overlap. The one will end by the time the other begins.
That's correct.
Got it. Okay. Great. So then we can move on to committee member news and announcements. I don't know if Tess or Catherine, you have anything you guys wanted to share?
Yes, I do. There was I think this should be agendized for the general board meeting. There was a report, a community impact statement that came out of the Reseda Neighborhood Council 2 weeks ago about the spending done on the 2021 outreach and elections. And there were some financial, I guess, improprieties or allegations of improprieties, I should say. And I think it's important to look at how that money is being allocated and spent, particularly when the individual neighborhood councils like all of them, all 99 of them, are being reduced with their annual budget. But at the same time, Dunn is increasing its ask by more than, they're more than doubling their ask. So I will forward that report that I got from the community impact statement from Reseda Neighborhood Council, which they've also submitted to council file. And I know this was discussed last night at the Board of Neighborhood Commissioners meeting. Of course, Catherine, you and I had government affairs, so I couldn't be there, but I will get an update from what transpired at that meeting. So I'd like that to be discussed at the general board meeting.
Okay. That does sound like something important to take a look at.
I'll send it to you after the meeting.
Great.
I have one sort of news and announcement, which is that I discovered in North Weddington Park on the side of the rec center, there is a Greater Toluca Lake Neighborhood Council bulletin board.
Oh,
Yeah, and so I went to our storage and I dug out a bag of old keys to who knows what all some of them are to, and a couple of them actually worked for that bulletin board. So
wow.
yeah, we have another bulletin board
That
in
we
the
could
park.
actually
Where's
be
that
putting.
exactly, Catherine? What is the location? You said North Weddington Park. On what end of the park?
The recreation center. It's on the side of the recreation center.
Okay.
I think I've seen that.
Oh, cool. Okay.
I
Yeah,
didn't
so we
realize.
should determine what we want to put in there, if we want that to be another agenda posting location, or if we want to use it for other purposes.
Yeah.
That's great. And is it approximately the size of the Trader Joe's bulletin board or smaller,
Yes.
bigger? Okay. Okay. And is it, I mean, it seems like it's a high traffic area, isn't it? Outside the rec center?
Yeah.
Well, that's fabulous. Okay. Wow. Who knew?
Who is maintaining the other bulletin boards?
Isn't it
Robin.
Robin?
Okay.
So, well, I mean, after this meeting, we should have some interesting things to prepare and or post. So I think,
Yeah. Do we know what is the process right now for getting stuff up on the other bulletin boards?
well, as far as agendas go, there's a Brown Act timing requirement. They have to be posted within 72 hours if it's a regular meeting, or 24 hours if it's a special meeting. But I don't know that there's any time constraints if we're posting non-agenda item or, things not non-agenda items
Sure.
like events or come to a meeting or some replica of what occurs or is published in the newsletter. There's no reason we couldn't announce a turkey trot or a neighborhood cleanup or what have you. So,
Right.
and by the way, shout out to Robin Allen, who came to the Chamber of Commerce neighborhood cleanup was it last Saturday? Time is a blur.
Oh yeah, I saw the pictures on my Instagram of both of you. We wanted to be there. Actually, we were planning to bring Bruno and come to that, but we had a rough evening the night before. It didn't work out, unfortunately.
All right, so yeah, I just wanted to flag that for us to decide how we want to utilize that bulletin board going forward.
Great. That is definitely good to know. Okay, we'll move on to ongoing business. The first item was relating to the website. So I just wanted to, sorry, do we need to do something else first?
No,
Oh.
you're good.
Okay. I wanted to update everyone. I know there's been, quite a lot of back and forth on this stuff. So where we are, thank you, first of all, both to Tess and Catherine. You both submitted some very detailed notes, which are very helpful. where we left off was that those notes sort of need to be combed through and compiled, which is something that, that's kind of on me and Nick to have accomplished. So I will commit to doing that before the next meeting. And then those notes, we need to get those to TYS, and also, keep obviously Robin and Colby in the loop, just making sure that whatever the notes are things that we kind of all agree on, and they're not dramatic changes to the site. So we are able to move that forward. I'm hoping that once we provide that list to TYS, we'll see that turned around quickly. It's been my understanding in my conversations with them that they are more than willing to do the work in good faith while they're waiting to get paid. And it's also my understanding that a new finance clerk started with the city. I believe it was earlier this week. They sent a note out introducing the woman introducing herself.
Correct.
So I'm hoping also that will get resolved in short time, as well, as now that person is on board and can kind of work through whatever the backlog issues were.
Have you connected with him or her, or who is that person?
I
Kate?
have not.
Okay.
Let me just open that email really quick.
And I don't know that Paige would be permitted to. I think it might need to be the treasurer or the president of a neighborhood council that interacts with the funding clerk.
That would make sense. Yeah. And I think it was just a general email, that went, it seemed like, to all of the neighborhood councils. It's just for the Valley area. So only the Valley councils.
Oh, because Paola left, I think, and she was replaced.
Yes.
Yeah.
The
Okay.
her name is Marielle Camillo.
Okay.
And it looks like she sent this to a number of people. So I'm hopeful that now that there's someone in that role, that those issues can move forward. But I will certainly get those website notes that came from this committee, together and get them shared. And, as long as everyone is in agreement, we'll get those over to TYS, and hopefully we can see some of those adjustments made in short order.
Can I make a request?
Yeah.
And this might need to be something that is discussed at exec as well, but I would like to see, at a minimum, the chair of outreach or the secretary or some designated approved representative of GTLNC have website access. And I know we have Lisa, but just to have one extra backup, because right now, if heaven forbid Lisa is unavailable, we can't fix something urgently on the website, to my knowledge.
Yeah.
Is there any reason that you can't have access, Catherine? You used to. Can we get you access again?
I'd be fine with that. My access was removed at the end of last term.
Can we restore it?
If exec is okay with it, and if there's no other objections, I'm fine with that. But I also am okay if we'd rather designate someone else.
Can we put that on let's agendize that for the board, the general board meeting, to, knight Catherine or anoint her, or whatever the term is.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, you're pretty fluid with that stuff. Why not? And Paige, you should, you're a professional. You should have access too. I mean, as long as we're not stepping on each other, that somebody isn't overwriting somebody else's stuff, there's no basis not to take advantage of the skills that are available.
Well, and certainly I think we can agree the goal is not to sort of duplicate efforts or have people posting stuff that we're not first discussing with other people. I think it's just about, emergency use, as Catherine's pointing out.
Well, I mean, I think, there should be day to day. I mean, no duplication of effort, agreed, but there's plenty of things, I, for one, would love to poke around in the analytics. I love to look at that stuff. But how's our landing page doing? Do people stay there? The user experience is huge. I'm really, really, really into that.
Yeah.
There's no reason.
And that, I don't know, Tess, if you did see I was able to send you the analytics report
Yes,
earlier.
I didn't get a chance to drill down into it,
It
but I
takes a
am gonna-
while to drill down on
Yeah,
it.
but I love that stuff, and that's really important. I mean, if this is outreach, like we need to know how our landing page is doing and where people go and where they give up. And you can make tweaks, infinite numbers of tweaks to enhance the user experience. And if outreach is the goal, that's way up there. Way
So
up.
I think there's two things we can do for that. One, I think, as we've already decided, it sounds like we're all in agreement. We should put on the agenda for the exec meeting that this is something to address. But I think separately for what you're talking about, Tess, what we can do is request more regular reports from TYS. That's something that I think falls within the purview of what
Sure.
they could be doing for us and what we
Google
have.
Analytics.
Yeah. So we could just be asking them to make sure that they send us monthly reports before each of these meetings. And that's something that we can then kind of review. One of the standing agenda items at our meetings can be to review those analytics, see if there's
I would
any
love that.
adjustments
And you know what? Better than that, better even that page, a month to month analysis and their recommendations and improvements.
Yep.
Because if we're getting one hit per month,
Right.
we can do better. And when you look more carefully at analytics, you can see the path that people take and
Yes.
when they fall off the website and where the bottleneck is.
Yeah.
And so not just plain numbers, but month to month and recommendations for improved user experience. I mean, this is their.
So my only concern about that is I don't know how much we are paying them. I mean, I know we haven't really been paying them, but
Right.
I don't know that this would fall within the original scope of what was agreed to for the price. So that might require.
Yeah,
it does.
we talked to them when Nick and I had a conversation with them. We talked to them about some of the things that we wanted to do and what they would be willing to do, and they did say that providing reports was no problem. I mean, I think if we get into customizing them extensively, I think there's sort of like a certain amount of information they can provide for us.
Yeah, I think the recommendations are what might be outside of just running a report monthly.
Right.
Well, let's ask. I mean, they've been paid quite well, and I know that there's
they haven't been paid.
Well,
Right.
I was about to say they haven't been paid recently, but $500 a month for what they're doing is pretty decent. And pulling up analytics reports is that's not hard. If they're professionals, it's their recommendations that we want. So numbers we can get all day long by ourselves. So that would be my strong suggestion.
We can certainly talk to them and see, what's doable and what's not. But I know at least the regular reporting was something that they were prepared to do.
Good. Excellent. Take it. We'll take it.
Okay, great. So I think we have 2 action items on that front. Let me just make a note of that. Okay.
Paige, I see a hand up from
My
Jonathan.
hand? Oh, great. Is that something we can do now? Great.
Jonathan, go ahead.
Thank you. On the website, I'm hopeful that this committee will consider this idea, that I think this committee needs to take a step forward on getting the people who live in Greater Toluca Lake onto that website. And to that end, I think it's necessary, this is something I see happen that's low cost, is community organizations, let's just say Greater Toluca Lake, create a decal that goes on people's windows that is promoting neighborhood watches, but it's actually promoting Greater Toluca Lake website by putting it in there. I just think we desperately need something physical to get people to go beyond a voluntary hit to the website, something that reaches out. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Jonathan. And actually that touches on one of our upcoming agenda items here. So maybe we can just briefly touch on that item first, since it relates, and we'll go back to the social media topics. What I had wanted to discuss was, at a previous meeting, it was brought up the idea of having a QR code and doing exactly what you're talking about, Jonathan, having some sort of postcard printout that would direct people to the GTLNC website. Another idea was, directing them to the newsletter sign up. which is related. We talked about having that sort of postcard posted in storefront windows, maybe handed out at the farmer's market. Certainly we could put it in the bulletin board, hopefully. So there'd be a number of ways that we could share that physical item that would have that. So I wanted to just talk about that idea a little bit further and see if we have full agreement from this committee. I know I have heard counter opinions that say that the QR code may be a little technologically challenging for some of the constituency in the neighborhood. I'm not sure that I agree with that, but it is one comment that I've heard. And in talking about how to spend, our resources on printing and creating stuff, whether or not that was necessarily the best way forward, but it sounds like that's similar to what Jonathan is suggesting. So just wanted to get input from the rest of the committee on that idea.
If we have the redundancy of the QR code and the website address, then if someone doesn't know how to use a QR code, they can still see the website address below it.
Yeah, that's what I suggested earlier, Paige. So yeah, I mean, and I think a decal is a good idea. It just can be super simple. I mean, you can get 1 million stickers printed for next to nothing.
Right.
So, and we have a nice logo, the swan. It's just, it's a matter of just, it's so easy.
No, I think that's a great, I think it's a great idea. I guess the question, this is more of a process question, Catherine. Is that something that like, in order for us to make that recommendation and put that on the agenda for the larger board to discuss? I mean, especially as in terms of there being a cost associated with creating this.
What I would recommend doing is mentioning it as something we're exploring at this upcoming meeting, and then at the March outreach meeting, having a funding motion on our agenda, basically motion to approve up to X dollar amount for XYZ outreach materials. And I would advise that you do a little bit of research, or someone on this committee do research to price out options, maybe have a couple different options so that you can explain why you might have identified, we're going to use this printer versus a different printer if possible. And then if it passes at this committee, it would be brought to the general board. And if the general board passes that funding dollar amount. And the reason we say up to X dollars is so that in the event it comes in a little bit lower, we're covered. Always love to get things a little cheaper.
Right.
But it won't ever, you can't ever raise a dollar amount once it is in a motion.
Got it.
At a meeting. Like you could do another motion later to add additional funding, but it would have to be at another meeting.
Okay. That makes sense. Those sound like concrete steps forward that we can take on that. Great. So the additional piece of ongoing business was to brainstorm some social media and newsletter topics. I'm happy that we have Lisa on the call. And Robin as well. And I know in previous meetings, it's been discussed that, it would be helpful to get some additional input from this committee and from the community on the types of things that might be more engaging, or at least the same level of engagement for those accounts. So I thought that this might be something that we can do on a more regular basis, that we set aside a few minutes of the meeting time to kind of have this, look at the calendar, have this conversation and come up with some topics. And then if there's any creative elements that need to be developed, we can follow up about those after the fact. But I thought it might be helpful for us to kind of have that conversation with Lisa and to see if there's any things, even if there are things that might have been in the past couple of weeks that we, sort of wished had been on the accounts or in the newsletter that were missed opportunities. I think those are helpful to talk about too for learning experiences.
Sorry, was somebody going to speak?
No, sorry, my cat tried to grab something.
Well, Lisa, I'm sure you probably have this, but I'm sure you're on a mailing list from our council member's office, from our assembly member's office, maybe even from the Board of Supervisors office, because they have lots of helpful things. They're always announcing workshops, community events, grant programs, concerts, all kinds of things like that. For my part, we've just set a calendar for 2022 with a bunch of dates, including our annual community yard sale. We're going to have a block party. We've got 4 neighborhood watch meetings scheduled. I can get those over to you, Paige. And, so I'm thinking.
And when you say we, are you referring to West Toluca Lake?
Yeah, West Toluca Lake. So for announcement and inclusion in the Greater Toluca Lake Neighborhood Council, but also, as I said, Krikorian, Nazarian, and our new board of our new county supervisor have, tons of events. I'm sure Lisa gets those by the bushel. And then other than that, I guess seasonal. There's so many things that come down the pike, and when I'm making editorial decisions for the newsletters that I put out, I just sort of look at what I think is best and most relevant for our for the group. Those are just my suggestions.
Thank you. Catherine, any thoughts on that?
I'm going to admit, I'm just not a newsletter person. Like, honestly, this is literally the only newspaper I'm subscribed to, and that's mostly out of the shame that I shouldn't unsubscribe.
Sure.
But I have given Lisa the ability to speak if she wants to unmute herself.
Yep, I'm unmuted.
Awesome.
So just a couple of things so I can introduce myself to those people who may or may not know me. My name is Lisa Davis. I am working with Robin and Colby on the social media and the newsletter. My scope of work entails the updates of Facebook, the Twitter and Instagram, and composing the weekly newsletter, which goes out on Thursdays, and also updating the agendas, documents, and minutes on the website. I don't do creative editing. I don't get in there to the back end of the WordPress and do any of the layouts on the website. So I just do the docs, minutes, and agendas for the website. And then sometimes, as of most recently, working with TYS to get some of the social media elements fixed on the bottom of the website. If you might notice, and if you're all online right now, you could go see it. They've also added our newsletter for the sign up for the newsletter, as well as click here to see the latest newsletters.
Awesome.
So that, I sometimes chime in, but the scope of work has been pretty defined since the beginning of working with Greater Toluca Lake Neighborhood Council. Circling back with you all in regards to an outline of ideas, the door has always been open, and Robin and before that Julian were exceptional partners with the board in asking board members and committee chairs and members to, hey, you got an idea? Float it past, and then they make the decision, and then it gets delivered to me. So I do a conduit between Robin and myself, and then I also take directions from Colby. So Robin would be your gatekeeper for collecting everything and then putting it together, and then I would receive it from her in time to populate and promote. So all ideas are welcome. One thing I do know that from past experience, the DUN, which is the Department of Neighborhood Empowerment, really did not want our neighborhood councils collectively, I think there's 101 at this point, putting promotion to, even if they're nonprofits, that have a fee associated. So there've been some great events that we would love to promote, and we think of ways to dance around it when they have a fee associated. We received something just recently regarding, Robin, you could help me out, Fitz Coleman, right? And he's doing an event, but again, does prohibit, and you could correct me if I'm wrong, if this is old information, from neighborhood councils promoting activities that have a fee-based in them.
That is correct, Lisa. We can't promote the chamber event because there is a fee. It is a cost to the ticket. But we can, like you said, which is why I love working with you, we could always promote the chamber and their website and have people go to their website. And then if they see that, it's not us promoting it, it's us promoting that we have a chamber.
So we have to look at different ways of sharing that information.
Okay,
If
that's
we-
good to know.
Yeah, there's these little nuances that come along with it. So I do want to say that there are an amazing amount of wonderful, fabulous opportunities that outreach has in store for itself going forward. And things that we had spoken to probably back in, golly, I don't know if it was June, July, or August when I visited, was sharing some ideas where outreach can make an impact. And one of your guests today had some great suggestions for putting a promotional piece in the window. I know that Studio City had some, I guess it was a master plan that the retailers aren't allowed to mar up, if you will, their windows with a lot of promotional materials. I don't know how Toluca Lake works differently, but so in that case, their outreach chair for 5 years, what we did is we created postcards or flyers and we distributed it within the retailers for them to hand out at point of sale or entering and exiting. So there's different ways of sharing your information. So as a retailer, I went around to all the retail stores and introduced myself as the chair and dropped off my business card and promoted what event was coming down the road. We did the farmers market on a monthly basis. And when there was an event, we did it more regularly and we had it on a schedule so we could have a stand waiting for us on that Sunday, prepared for us to promote getting involved, as well as upcoming elections, which is imperative to get the pipeline going, and other events and the meetings. And there's a lot of confusion out there. People don't know neighborhood councils. They don't know it differently from your homeowners association. So there's a lot of murky confusion out there. So having that boots on the ground presence does make sense. Although obviously during this time of COVID, safety is priority one, but it shouldn't hurt us from having something maybe at the farmer's market. Another thing is partnering up with Tess. Yes, I do get the information from our elected officials and also the state senator as well. So partnering up and getting a program in sync with our elected officials is really important for getting the word out because they have a big pipeline for their outreach. So as you craft what your 12-month outreach plan is going to look like, be it events, marketing materials, email introductions to you as the new chair, to your elected officials and their local representatives, it just gives you another opportunity to connect with their email list or their social media, and it's free. So partnerships always worked for programs that I've did before. And then creating a signature event, you guys had a wonderful, I know a lot of you are experienced, you had your green event that Julianne did. And then before that, I think it was running for 7 years or something, Robin. There's still ways of creating some fun events, be it virtual or in person, sing-alongs or holiday bake-offs and, show your best thing. So help me build up that world of communication and tangibility and accessibility for local news. We're having a 100th anniversary next year. Robin and I came up with a way to highlight the Toluca Lake stories. These can definitely be ideas coming from you all and bringing it to Robin, and then we shape it and move it forward in our mediums. But social media and the website are just two tools in the toolbox of outreach. Obviously, you know that.
And
So,
also in it was September, October, November. No, it was October, November, December. We had 3 events in Toluca Lake that could have been, outreach could have been at every one of those. Even if they didn't have a booth, they could have walked around with their business card or just a hand and saying, hi, I'm from GTLNC. And, please come to our meetings, share any ideas you have. So there are ways to commit to events, like even the cleanup. You come to the cleanup and just, stand at Priscilla's where they're handing out coffee and just say hello. Did you know that we have a neighborhood council? So there are many opportunities to engage with the community.
Yeah, I think that's great. And I know that in a previous meeting, I guess it was at our main board meeting where we, Catherine, was it you who had discovered sort of merch, for lack of a better term, that we have?
Yes. So we have a lot of pens and a handful of other merch like tote bags, and trying to recall what all is in our storage. But yeah, we do have some merch items. And I think that, to Lisa and Robin's points, having a physical presence is very important. I know COVID makes it hard, but it would be good for us to show up to as many of the community events as possible to remind people that we do still exist. And
Of course.
yeah, having that merch with us if we wanted to could be helpful. We have a pop-up tent and tablecloths and a small amount of logo merch.
And we have the ability to put stuff out every Sunday at the farmer's market. I was approached for and asked for an endorsement by by our assembly member, and I converted that into a candidate forum, or at least I'm interested in doing that. So I've suggested that to the assembly member, and I think a candidate forum would be really, really good, especially because it would go out to their mailing list. Now, I would be doing that on behalf of the Residents Association, of which I'm president, Paige, but there's no, I don't think we can't endorse candidates, but I think candidate forums are allowable.
Yes,
We
Candidate
can host
forums
candidate
are-
forums.
You have to invite all candidates. You can't.
Well,
Yes.
Well, of course. I mean, that's the idea. What were you saying, Lisa?
no, absolutely. Candidate forums are absolutely a wonderful way of representing your community and having people able to find you through different avenues, because yes, you're right, the candidates will promote that, and then you'll see a rise in your awareness. But that's a great idea. Yep, support it. Super.
Yeah, but we as a neighborhood council are not allowed to endorse any
No,
candidates.
that's the
Right, yeah.
forum. The forum is an agnostic opportunity to
Yeah.
showcase all of those who want to run.
Is that something, Tess, that you would like to see?
I'd
our
love to do
neighborhood
that. Yeah.
council
Well, I
get
mean,
behind?
we're doing it, we're doing it for, let's put it this way. I've proposed it and I'm waiting for a reply. And I don't know what the schedules are like and what the willingness is of people to have a public debate with opponents. But I
Right.
think generally speaking, any politician will want publicity. So, and we can promote, when I say we, I say the West Toluca Lake Residents Association, we can promote that heavily. We've got, very robust outreach ourselves, and, can certainly do something in parallel with the Greater Toluca Lake Neighborhood Council, and, using all of the strategies that I've learned. So there's that.
Tess, there's also an opportunity. We have neighboring neighborhood councils. And when we did the forums back in the Studio City days, we partnered up with the Greater Toluca Lake or the North Hollywood or Hollywood Hills. I think this is an opportunity to reach out to some of your neighbor.
Oh, I know tons of the neighboring neighborhood council people.
Absolutely. And it's a better way to have your candidate saying, I'm on board. We have 5 neighborhood councils plus a homeowners association plus so-and-so. Absolutely. I'm on board. I'll make the time to be there.
Good idea. You know what? You're worth your weight there, Lisa.
Well,
I
that-
don't know how much you weigh, but I won't ask. Okay. Neighboring neighborhood council. Okay.
Yeah, and I was gonna chime in that you guys, there's such a wealth of information from your partner neighborhood councils. It's how, if you're new to the game of neighborhood councils, you learn from calling up the outreach chair, you call the board president, or you call another neighborhood council that you just want to get to know, and they don't have to be within your district. Although, as you all know, before you know it, we have elections, and this is the best time to right now start that machine going for getting people in our world to know about neighborhood councils, because we're going to want more people to run.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I poached the idea of QR codes from the Studio City outreach people.
Yeah. And we have a library, you guys. We have the library that you could do events there, and they help you, and they help raise that volume.
Oh, which library are you talking about? The one on Witsit?
Well, you have the
North-
Amelia Earhart Library, which is the NoHo. That's who we.
Okay, yeah,
partner
that's
with on-
okay. Yeah, that's Krikorian. Okay, yeah,
So we're.
I love that library. All
Yeah.
right.
So you could look to doing events there as well.
All right. Are there other, would we have access to the rec center, like the Weddington Park Rec Center, or would a fee be payable, or could the city, I mean, it's a city event promoting the city. Is there a way to get it for free or at an extremely low cost?
If it's a campaign event, it's not really a city event promoting the city.
Okay.
As we've been reminded several times by candidates that come visit, or sorry, by city staff that come visit, they're not allowed to campaign on city time or city dime.
But you have the tennis center, who might have some space there.
All right. Okay,
You
good.
might find, though, that your forum may not be in person with attendees, but in person with your candidates. So you may not need that big of a space. Maybe the
Right.
the lake school.
You
maybe that-
might also try the Harmony Church on Whipple and Len, Coenga. That's where we've done our candidate forums before.
Mhm.
Okay. All right,
Okay.
very good. All
I
right.
think that gives us a lot of good material, definitely a lot of places to start from. So
But as you think about this, as you roll out your energy levels on this, think of a 12-month plan. You don't have to bite down on everything, right? You want to look at 12 months of what you want to achieve on the low-hanging fruit and the larger things.
Right.
But always an eye towards elections, because that's a real heavy lift when that comes around.
Lisa, you've done this so long. Would you happen to have just a sample 12-month plan from the past that you could share with us?
I could come up with something for you guys just to fill it in for things that are happening, maybe, you know. I haven't been on the Studio City Neighborhood Council for quite some time. I could go look to see if I had something.
Yeah, I
from-
mean, it just don't
Yeah.
create something. I just thought if you had something hanging around, you could forward it to us.
Well, I'm going to put some thought behind that, Tess, and see some kind of key points of what you're going to want to do. This election is the perfect time for that. So I'll think about that. Sure.
Okay.
Paige, I see Jonathan's hand up.
oh, great.
Jonathan, go ahead.
Thank you. I think Lisa is correct in what she's saying, sort of like, if you're going to do anything that's going to take work, make sure that it has impact. It's so hard to get people to show up for anything nowadays, not just because of COVID, but because of apathy. And you have to ask yourself, the people of Greater Toluca Lake, what do they all do? And the first thing that comes to my mind, before I tell you what I think, try to think in your own head, what do all people in Greater Toluca Lake do? And the first thing I think of is everyone runs to Trader Joe's. Everyone
Yeah.
loves Trader Joe's. think one step further. Are there possibilities not only to ask Trader Joe to contribute money for certain things, but more like that receipt they print out? Will they do things for free for us, like put on the back of their receipts? I don't know. I haven't been to that one in a long time. But what, not just bulletin board things, but things that are more like, I believe in being intrusive into people's domicile, meaning you got to put a sticker on their door or something that approaches the home and the individual. Trader Joe is the individual. A sticker, a decal, it not only does it talk about safety, which is the number one thing on everyone's mind, safety because of what's happened, but it's a long-term presence. In other words, you don't want to do something like a postcard that gets thrown away. You want to put something out there that doesn't cost a lot of money or nothing, and it either is repetitive or it sticks around. Thank you.
Thank you. I do want to note that at least as of the last time I've heard Dunn mention anything about this, and I think it was even mentioned at our Civic U on Monday, neighborhood councils are not allowed to take any monetary donations, which is something that is being discussed as something that might change in the future, but at the moment, we can't receive any monetary donations.
That's right, Catherine. That's right, Catherine. But they can, if you have something that you wanted them to promote, or like, would they mind underwriting the printing of those postcards, right? With their name on it. Thank you as a sponsor. It does help offset the expenses. Like when we did the movies in the park, the popcorn was paid by Film LA. The movies were supported by Universal Studios. Krikorian's office handled the hamburgers and the chairs and tables. So the sponsoring of materials that get you to the finish line is where you can go.
Okay. So
Awesome.
we can have somebody pay for specific stuff. Okay. Have sponsored items. All right.
Great.
Okay.
Yeah, they're essentially in-kind donations.
Right. That makes sense. All right. In the interest of keeping us moving, I'm gonna suggest that we move on to the one new business topic that we have, which is the Homeless Committee Services Guide. I shared an example in line with borrowing ideas from our fellow neighborhood councils. The document that I shared was put out by the Studio City Neighborhood Council. And Colby brought it to my attention, thinking that it might be something that our neighborhood council would want to use as a template to put out something similar. The goal being to give people direction on what to do and who to call in a set of varying circumstances. This may touch on safety as well in that regard, but I think what he was thinking was an actual piece where we compile the information and then have a piece that we can share with people in the neighborhood and distribute. So I wanted to just get information, input from this committee and see what everybody thought about that, because I think it's a topic that will probably come up at our larger board meeting, and it would be nice for us as the outreach committee to be able to make a recommendation one way or the other.
Paige, this stuff is really great, and it comes from Luis Oliart, who presented at the Public Safety Committee meeting, I think 2 months ago. And I think the Fab 4 flyer is great, that we could begin using this immediately, because these locations are near us, one on Camarillo, St. Matthews, the food pantry, North Hollywood Interfaith food pantry, etc. I mean, we might be able to add something like Harmony Church. And I've brought this idea up a couple of times. The North Hollywood Home Alliance in particular has little business card size. I mean, they're business cards basically, but they're printed front and back. They give the date, time of, services, address, etc. And I carry a bunch of those with me because I walk around in the neighborhood a lot. I have a dog. I'm out, several hours a day usually. Sure. So there's no reason we can't just get some of those and or print some of our own, but why reinvent the wheel? This flyer here is great, this Fab Four flyer. I think the only thing that we could, one thing we could do to, what's the word? Adapt it to our neighborhood is just add Harmony Church. That's it.
Yeah, and I don't think anyone's aiming to reinvent the wheel. I think that was just the question was, A, do we want to move forward with something like this? And then B, if so, what other, is there additional information or different information that we would need to include to be more relevant for Toluca Lake?
No, I think, I think just what can you do to help, or what action can you take? Because people just throw up their hands. The problem is so huge at times, and you see encampments that don't seem like they're ever going to go away. But this is, direct a person to this service. Help this person. I helped a gal who was living in her car, sleeping in her car on my street. She now has assisted living, supportive housing in a really nice new building on Camarillo. And I'm now helping another person do the same thing. So it just, and you're basically just providing a little bit of encouragement and a phone number, and encouraging them to call.
Yeah.
I've walked people to some of these locations, to St. Matthew's, to the food pantry. It's not, getting people to understand that they're not helpless. And I love that that handout, the Studio City thing that you provided as well. That's also from Luis. And I think it would be great to have something like that for us. I mean, it would be nearly identical, wouldn't it? Because a lot of our representatives now overlap with Studio City.
That's also true. Yeah.
Yeah.
So would this be something that, Catherine, we could take a similar approach? We could kind of float the suggestion at the next board meeting, and then have a funding measure at our March meeting to discuss.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
FYI, I do see a hand up from Jonathan.
Oh, thank you. Sorry, I keep missing that. Jonathan, go
Jonathan, go ahead.
Thank you. I looked at that form. I thought it was a great idea that people would love to know exactly what to do when they see things that they don't like, but I couldn't figure out, our complaint is always the word underpasses. And when you look at the form, I couldn't figure out which one is for underpasses. Just when you have a chance, you don't have to do it now, but that was the thing I had with it. I didn't understand, but it could be.
Okay, that's a good note. Okay. Okay, well then I'm gonna make a note that that's something that we'll include for discussion at the next board meeting, and then that it'll be a follow-up agenda item for us at our next meeting. And hopefully within that time, we're able to create a similar piece, or, maybe it'll be possible to get the, I don't know, if Studio City would share the working files for that, so we could just make a few adjustments, or if not, we can create something.
Oh, Luis would be
similar.
happy to. In fact, I think I even have them handy. I'll check. Because I met with him after I've actually met with him in the past, and I met with him again recently after our public safety meeting a couple months ago. And I'll forward you some of the stuff I have.
Great.
And I'll see if I can find the master files.
Yeah, because again, in the interest of not reinventing the wheel, that way we can just kind of tweak it rather than have to create something new from scratch.
Let's see. Yeah, okay. What I have from him looks like mostly PDFs, but I'll ask him and I'll get it over to you guys. Okay.
Great. That will be wonderful. Okay. I think we have a lot of work to do, but it's all good items. So happy that we can hopefully finally move some of these things forward. Are there any other comments?
Well done, Miss
Questions?
Page.
Thank you. Oh, it looks like
Lisa, I think, has her hand up.
Just wanted to let you know that my objective is to not be here. I want you all to own your social media, your newsletter, and everything. So in the end, if you feel comfortable with the planning and the content creation and the posting. This is your world. This is your tools. These are your messages. These are your voices. This is your community. When you're ready and you want to own it and you go through the board for all of that, I'll help you transition for you to be the kings and queens on outreach for all of your assets. So that is my goal.
Very good. By the way,
Yeah.
I put my hands on the editable copy. Would you like a copy of it as well, Lisa?
I didn't understand that, Tess. What was that?
The outreach document that we are thinking of adapting to our own purposes, would you like a copy of it as well?
Sure, if you want to send that
Okay.
to Robin, and then does Robin have that?
You know what? I'll
To
include
Robin,
her.
yeah. Yeah,
Okay. No problem.
great.
Great.
All right.
Okay. That all seems pretty great. I think, do we need to see if there's any objections, or can we just close the meeting?
Good
no,
job,
no.
Paige.
Close the meeting. As the
Okay.
chair.
Great. Then we will close the meeting at 7:37.
Excellent. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Have a